Will the House please come to order and members kindly take their seats? Good afternoon. The devotional today will be led by Vermont Poet Laureate Bianca Stone of Brandon.
Today we're speaking of the arts bringing us together, and yet let us also know art brings us more closer to ourselves. It is a social act of a solitary maker. It helps us bear ourselves and reflect hard truths. And in that singular art, that private gaze, it inspires, of course, it humbles, and it reflects the consciousness of the collective. And this is important. It brings us into right relation with ourselves, and then we can look up at the other before us. We can't come together unless we acknowledge the division in ourselves. It is to acknowledge, I think, what's happening on February 14th, an act of the heart. This is a poem by the poet Dara Barwa Dixon, and it's called If You Are Lucky. The same person will fall in love with you over and over and over and over again and again. If you are lucky, if your luck holds out over and over, the same one will fall out of love with you in order to fall back in. It is an excruciating process. Nonetheless, it is necessary. You will need to be prepared to recognize someone's love for you, as well as be prepared to follow it as it wanes and waxes. Unfortunately, this means you will need to endure long stretches without love. And these you will need to endure with patience and grace in order to be prepared for love when it comes and love when it disappears, with the strength you've gained because you've read poems and novels and stories, and you've watched movies, and you've looked at pictures, and you've lived with animals, and you've loved them. And by virtue of all these things, you've practiced feeling something as complicating as love without end, and as complicating as love no more. You will have kept up in practice, and you will be able to take what love throws your way, because stories and poems have wrung your heart and shattered your brain over and over again to watch you change. So now you are ready. So when Wednesdays that will never end come, and the necessary days without nights, try not to think of them. They will destroy you. The bright days with no love, the short days with no end. For those days, be glad, as patient as a glacier or one big starving panther waiting for its prey. Every time love comes, you will stand there and stand it, or it will come again no more. Thank you all so much.
There are no bill introductions today. Are there any announcements? Member from Norwich.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I am honored to introduce Vermont's Poet Laureate, Bianca Stone, who presented today's devotional. You may know her from her most recent book, The Near and Distant World. She is also the winner of the 2022 Vermont Book Award for her poetry collection, What is Otherwise Infinite. Her work has appeared in many places, The New Yorker, The Atlantic, The Poets and Writers, The Nation, and across our state. In 2025, the Academy of American Poets named Bianca as the 2025 Poet Laureate Fellow, making her one of 23 poets selected from across the country for this very high honor. Bianca also co-founded the poetry-based nonprofit Ruth Stone House in Brandon, where she brings beauty and teaches classes on poetry and poetic study. Today, she is here with students from the Introduction to Poetry class she teaches as visiting faculty at Dartmouth College, which is over on my side of the state. And I thought her words were the best to describe who they are. She said, "What is so incredible about this class is that although it is an introduction to poetry class, I have seen nothing but a group of old souls arriving exactly where they have always been, into the strange beauty of their own language. From all different backgrounds, they have come together in solidarity with a shared awe at how poetry can make their lives more full and real in these uncertain and shifting times. I'm deeply grateful to shepherd this." Our poet laureate serves as Vermont's ambassador for the art of poetry for a fourth-year term. This tradition began with Robert Frost, who was named the first Vermont Poet Laureate, but it's worth noting that among many notable poet laureates through the program's history, Bianca's grandmother, Ruth Stone, was also the Poet Laureate from 2007 to 2011. Bianca leads the State of Poetry, which hosts events throughout the state in many of your communities to bring together literary artists with writing and art-making opportunities. These events give Vermonters an opportunity to dive deeply into the work of past Vermont Poets Laureate that illuminates and speaks to our current moment. Thank you, Bianca, for sharing your work with us. And in closing, I'd like to leave you with a few more of Bianca's words. She once said, "I think what I love most," oh, I'm sorry, may I read her quote, Madam Speaker?
You may.
Yep. "I think what I love most about poetry is that it doesn't tell a story. It tears open a veil with its story, and it opens you up to the beauty. Please help me welcome the Vermont Poet Laureate Bianca Stone, her old souls in the balcony from Dartmouth College, the members of the Vermont Creative Network, and the amazing staff of the Vermont Arts Council."
Will the guest and the member from Norwich please rise and be recognized? Member from Guilford.
Madam Speaker, I'd just like to remind everyone, we know now that today is Creative Arts Day in Vermont. I'd like to make sure that everyone feels welcome to the Cedar Creek Room right after our meeting today, where the council and the Creative Network are hosting a reception. Everyone's invited.
Are there any further announcements? Member from Essex Junction.
Thank you. I rise today to recognize the community-based domestic and sexual violence advocates joining us in the House Gallery. The 14 nonprofit member organizations of the Vermont Network Against Domestic and Sexual Violence serve every square mile of our state. In 2025 alone, their advocates responded to more than 23,600 hotline and chat line contacts and provided in-person support to over 7,500 Vermonters seeking safety, care, and justice. Beyond crisis response, these advocates lead prevention and education efforts across our communities and schools. They provide life-saving services 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Please join me in welcoming them and thanking them for their extraordinary service to Vermonters.
Will the guest and the member from Essex Junction please rise and be recognized? Are there any further announcements? Member from Milton.
Just a reminder for everybody tonight, Sportsman's Caucus is in the Pavilion Building, room 10 at 4:30. Thank you.
Are there any further announcements? Seeing none, orders of the day. Members, we will begin with House Bill 527, which is an act relating to extending the sunset of the 30 VSA Chapter 248A. The bill was referred to the Committee on Energy and Digital Infrastructure, which recommends that the bill be amended as printed in today's calendar. The member from Dover, Representative Sibilia, will speak for the committee. Please listen to the second reading of the bill.
H 527, an act relating to extending the sunset of 30 VSA Section 248A.
Member from Dover.
Madam Speaker, H 527 addresses the immediate question of how Vermont should cite telecommunications infrastructure, while Act 250 is undergoing significant statutory and procedural changes. The bill preserves a functioning statewide framework while the legislature considers longer-term reforms. Section 248A is a specialized telecommunications siting process created in 2007 that allows certain cell tower projects to be reviewed by the Public Utility Commission instead of Act 250. It was adopted to provide a more predictable and technically focused alternative to Act 250, while preserving environmental review and public participation. It has been extended multiple times on a temporary basis, which is why the sunset legislation keeps coming back to the legislature. Testimony in House Energy and Digital Infrastructure on H 527 showed broad agreement that Vermont's telecommunications siting process under Section 248A needs some improvement, particularly around notice, transparency, fairness, and meaningful local participation. Municipal officials, planning commissions, and residents testified that notice often comes late in the process and that opportunities for meaningful participation are limited. The Vermont League of Cities and Towns supported extending Section 248A while emphasizing the need for clearer notice, defined timelines, and a more predictable process for municipalities that operate with limited staff and volunteer boards. The Public Utility Commission and telecommunications providers supported retaining Section 248A as the appropriate statewide framework and acknowledged that notice and public participation can be improved. Industry representatives emphasized the importance of predictable timelines and clear process for planning and financing infrastructure, and agreed that targeted improvements to notice and transparency are preferable to allowing projects to default to Act 250. Given the scheduled sunset of Section 248A this year, the committee chose to move the bill forward rather than allow authority for 248A to lapse and default telecommunications siting to go to Act 250. The committee members can find the bill in today's calendar, and I will now walk through the sections of the bill. Section 1 is an extension of the 248A sunset. It extends the sunset from July 1st, 2026 to July 1st, 2030. This is a 4-year extension. Prior extensions have been typically for 3 years. Section 2, Public Utility Commission recommendations. Section 2 establishes a defined public process and work plan for improving the Section 248A process, and it directs the PUC to recommend changes to Section 248A to increase transparency, efficiency, fairness, and the ability of individuals and municipalities to participate. Subsection A also requires the Commission to hold at least 2 public workshops and to invite, at a minimum, telecommunications providers that have used Section 248A, the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, regional planning commissions, Vermonters for a Clean Environment, the Department of Public Service and Public Safety, the Agency of Natural Resources, and other relevant stakeholders. Subsection B specifies the required topics for workshops at the PUC, including advance notice requirements, timeline, distribution, pre-petition hearings, site visits, and the consequences of failing to file in a timely fashion. Post-petition comment procedures, intervention hearings, and significant issue determinations, contested case procedures, evidentiary hearings and public participation, evidentiary burdens, standards for supplements and amendments to petitions, streamlined processes for transfers of certificates of public good, and any additional topics the Commission identifies through consultation. Subsection C requires the PUC to submit a report on or before December 15th, 2027 to the House Committee on Energy and Digital Infrastructure and the Senate Committee on Natural Resources and Energy. That report must include an overview of the public process, the Commission's recommendations, and a description of any changes the Commission made to the Section 248 process following stakeholder consultation. This bill was voted out of our committee on a vote of 5-3-1. It would take effect on passage. And we heard from the following witnesses: the Director of External Affairs for AT&T, the Assistant Vice President for State Legislative Affairs, CTIA, Legislative Counsel from the Office of Legislative Counsel, the Chair of the Danville Planning Commission, a board member from the Land Use Review Board, a managing partner from from Downs Racklin Martin, a legislative liaison from the PUC, the Tinmouth Town Clerk and Treasurer, the Executive Director of the Land Use Review Board, the Chair of the Land Use Review Board, the Vice President for New England State and Local Government Affairs for Verizon, Municipal Policy and Advocacy Specialist for VLCT, the bill sponsor, the Executive Director for Vermonters for a Clean Environment, and the Telecommunications and Connectivity Director for the Department of Public Service. The committee asks for your support.
The question is, shall the bill be amended as recommended by the Committee on Energy and Digital Infrastructure? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have amended the bill. Now the question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Are you ready for that question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and third reading is ordered. Members, the final item on our action calendar today is Joint Senate Resolution 37, which is a joint resolution supporting, in solidarity with national and international ski organizations and numerous skiers across the globe, the introduction of a long overdue gender equality in Nordic combined Olympic competition, and urging that the International Olympic Committee only introduce new Olympic sports that practice gender equality. This resolution was treated as a bill and referred to the Committee on Commerce and Economic Development, which recommends that the resolution ought to be adopted in concurrence. The member from Burlington, Representative Duke, will speak for the committee. Please listen to the second reading of the resolution.
Madam Speaker, Nordic combined...
Member, just one moment, we need to read the bill.
JRS 37, joint resolution supporting, in solidarity with national and international ski organizations and numerous skiers across the globe, the introduction of long overdue gender equality in Nordic combined Olympic competition, and urging that the International Olympic Committee only introduce new Olympic sports that practice gender equality.
Now, member from Burlington.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Nordic Combined is a sport which combines a competition in cross-country skiing with ski jumping. A men's division has been included since the very first Winter Olympics in 1924. In recent years, the number of women and the quality of international competition has increased significantly, and yet there is still only a men's competition in the Olympics. This joint resolution urges the International Olympic Committee to add a women's division to the Nordic Combined and to only add sports to the Olympics that offer both men's and women's divisions. Your Committee on Commerce and Economic Development heard from the Lieutenant Governor, the Senate sponsor of the resolution, and the President of the Vermont Ski Areas Association, and your committee passed it with a vote of 10-0-1.
The question is, shall the resolution be read a third time? Member from Northfield.
Madam Speaker, may I interrogate the member from Burlington?
The member from Burlington is interrogated.
Madam Speaker, I believe that I have read the resolution. I believe I'm quite clear about the fact that it's requiring or asking that anytime, for example, a new men's sport would be added, there would also be a women's sports added so that there was equality. However, I have read published reports and seen comments by Vermonters in response to those reports that interpreted it differently and was suggesting or reading it to mean that future sports only be introduced if they were combined teams in order to have equality. So there would not be separate men's and women's divisions. So I just want to clarify and make sure that my understanding is correct, and that if there are other interpretations being made publicly, that those are not correct.
Madam Speaker, that is correct. The resolution asks that all Olympic sports have both a men's and a women's division. It does not speak to having the divisions combined.
I thank the member.
The question is, shall the resolution be read a third time? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and third reading is ordered. Members, that completes the orders of the day. Are there any announcements? Member from Wolcott.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. A question I hear all the time in my community is, what does the Lieutenant Governor actually do? My answer usually include things like presides over the Senate, serving on the Committee on Committees, and I have to explain that, yes, that's a real thing. Breaking ties, stepping in if the governor is out of town or unavailable to finish his term. Important duties handled with the utmost respect and reverence. But have you ever secretly wanted to tell the Honorable Lieutenant Governor to go jump in a lake? Good news, you can. And it will be for a great cause. The Special Olympics Polar Splash is in March 14th, and he is trying to reach his goal of $2,600. So stop by his office and help him reach the goal. If he does, he's promised to shave off that legendary cheesy mustache.
Are there any further announcements? Member from Barrytown.
Madam Speaker, for the record, I need to correct the member from Milton. The Sportsman's Caucus will be meeting in room 10 at 4:30 this afternoon, not in the pavilion. Thank you.
Are there any further announcements? Member from Waterbury.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just wanted to recognize one of our guests in the back there. I forget what that's called. Anyway, the gallery, right? My former vice chair of House Human Services and the former representative from Shelburne is visiting today.
Will the former member please rise and be recognized? Member from Shelburne. Are there any further announcements? Seeing none. Member from Poultney, can you please offer us a motion to adjourn until Friday, February 13th at 9:30 a.m.?
Madam Speaker, I make a motion this body stand in adjournment until Friday, February 13th, 2026 at 9:30 a.m.
You have heard the motion. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and this body stands in adjournment until tomorrow.